with NDSU men's basketball head coach Dave Richman. Dave, how are you?
Great. Trying to stay a little warm.
Yep.
All the things that come with basketball season, but
Yep.
that means it's basketball season, so I'm good with that, Ross.
And you can see retirement's going super well for me.
Yeah, and you're like I told you off air, you're catching me off guard. We're going the opposite direction.
I know. Well, yours will be gone soon, I'm sure. And then I'll mine will come back. It's interesting. I think there's one big difference with this year's club, but at the same time, even you return whatever percentages of your minutes. It's a lot. There's got to be development. There's got to be a different vibe. What is different about this crew that seemingly would appear to be very similar, but very much the same?
Yeah, I think there's always differences. Even when you have similar parts, similar personnel back, there's always differences. I think the biggest difference might not be on the court, but a new staff member in Luke Strage.
Sure.
Who's had a tremendous impact on me. More importantly, he's had a tremendous impact on this program already, not just on the court, but off the court, challenging our thinking. A family guy, a very successful basketball coach. And that's what we sought out for. We sought out to make ourselves uncomfortable, to create some healthy conflict, to challenge, to continue to move ourselves forward in a day and age, transformational day and age when things are ever evolving. And when it comes to the guys, what hasn't changed is the character and integrity. As long as I'm fortunate to be here, that will always be priority number one, maximizing the talent that we can without compromising the character and integrity of the room, of the locker room. But it's a healthy group from a togetherness standpoint. It's a healthy group from a toughness standpoint, which are the reflections of us. And just thrilled for the time of year and to get this going and to see what it's all about when the real life hits us here with games.
I want to ask you about, you mentioned the big difference, but just kind of, you mentioned the transformational time in college basketball, and you've seen, Sam Griesel wear a Nebraska uniform. You're going to see Grant Nelson wear a Alabama uniform. I mean, those things would have been weird to see Woodside in a different number. It would have been weird to see Taylor Braun in a different jersey. Does it kind of affect how you, not necessarily even how you plan, but just sort of how you approach mid-major college basketball?
Well, I think you have in life, in anything, Ross, you have two options. You can be part of a problem, or you can be part of a solution. And, our solution is to embrace it. The transfer portal works in a myriad of different ways. We've lost some personnel. We've gained some personnel. We've suggested to others that we probably don't have your happiness here anymore. If playing basketball is what your happiness is about when you're in college. And so I think the portal works well for those cases to bring those young men eligibility immediately. I have just tried to, based on the faith and all those things that come with it, just have a positive attitude. And what hasn't changed, and just talking to colleagues and a myriad of different other realms of, maybe it's high level football, maybe it's coaches in our league. What hasn't changed is come November 6th or when our league starts, there's going to be 5 guys competing against 5 guys, and that's the part that you take great satisfaction in. It is preparing the team that you have at that time to be prepared, because at the end, if you don't get that done, there are no excuses.
How do you kind of adapt? I mean, there's been an announcement of an NIL collective, and I don't want to get you in any trouble what you can or can't speak on, but what is sort of the adaptation from a program where, okay, we've maybe taken these hits, but this has worked out really well, and we need to kind of be proactive in understanding what is Summit League basketball right now? What is North Dakota State basketball right now?
Well, I can touch on the collective. It's something
Sure.
that we support. It's something that we encourage people to embrace, encourage people to support. And, me as the leader of it, there aren't any specific ties, connections. There can't be. That's illegal. But as far as encouraging, supporting those things, absolutely. What Jay Bartley and his staff have done is tremendous. But I think the biggest part of it, the biggest part of it is principle. We have influencer, here. We have some things to create options, platforms just right on Go Bison. And now the collective, we need to continue to have these things. We talk about pivots, embracing those things. We need to have those in place for our current student athletes, and that's the piece I want to be loud, heard, crystal clear on. Is this is for our current student athletes. This isn't a recruitment process piece. This isn't a retention process piece. This is to provide opportunities for our current student athletes who are working, shedding blood, sweat, and tears almost on a daily basis to put additional money that's legal from an NCAA standpoint into their pockets.
So if it's a high school senior or a kid in the portal looking for a bag, this is maybe not the place to look.
You're going to want to quickly look elsewhere. Yeah.
I
don't have many bags, and I don't want to surround myself. And I'll say this loud and clear. I don't care who's listening, how they're listening. Again, we embrace this. We want one more dollar in our guys' pockets that are currently here. But if you're coming to North Dakota State to get rich in money, you're coming to the wrong place.
Sure.
If you're coming to get rich in an experience, to grow as a young man, to become a better student, to win championships, to compete for NCAA tournaments, win games in the NCAA tournaments, hey, that's going to start the conversation as we go on, and they get here and they can find those other avenues and opportunities that our guys are into, all the better.
Sure. All right, you want to talk actual basketball
Let's
now?
do it.
Okay. It's been a while since you have brought back both of your starting guards in Damari and now Javis, and now really getting Damari for an entire offseason where, he basically threw him into the fire against either Kansas or I don't know, but it was a quick learning curve for Damari. I think he really, to me, made some huge strides in the Summit League tournament, and then Javis is just, the ceiling almost doesn't exist. What is it like having those two back now as guys that kind of understand where each other are on the floor, but guys that have had 14, 15, 16 months to build together?
Yeah, there's so many levels to this. Number one, you can see physically that they're different young men.
Sure.
We had high school coaches in practice the other day, and they're talking about physically, the look of our guys, and particularly those two guys. And you start with Damari and just had really poor nutritional habits, right?
Okay.
And no offense to him.
I'm familiar with poor nutritional habits.
I think we all are at yours and my age. But I think it wasn't anything to do with him. He just, you don't understand. Now he gets here, he gets educated on it, he understands the importance of it. And now the best part about it, he's gaining confidence and seeing the results from those things. For me, that relationship with a point guard, that head coach relationship, is so vitally important. And this is an extremely fast, talented, explosive, laterally quick dude, right? Has the unique ability to get to spots on the floor and make terrific decisions, can shoot the mid-range, can his catch and shoot game is expanded immensely. But for me, it's the comfort, Ross. It's knowing the relationship that I have with him, that some of my messaging to other guys can go through him. For him to challenge me, for us to have a conversation, those things is just great. And, Javis is another one that you're dead on, Ross, where I don't think we're even coming close to scratching the surface, meaning like last year preseason he was hurt. This summer, early this fall, he was hurt. We're going to have practice number 25, I believe, today, and this is only going to be his 25th practice, and that he wasn't exposed to some things in the preseason again or the fall,
international trip stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so you're starting to see him catch wind and rhythm of the game, and just a young man that has some athleticism in that I think is sneaky, but just his feel, IQ, moxie for the game, and you start in your backcourt with that's certainly a nice luxury for a team.
I don't know that your plan is the Lawrence Alexander treatment for young Damari, but Luke Yoder's moved on, Desmond McKinney's moved on, and then you have like these guys like Jakari White, and when after you've signed guys, we'll talk and like he could maybe play a little point guard. Lance Waddles, he could maybe play a little point guard. Javis, he might be a little bit of a combo. Like if Damari's not on the floor, who has been kind of taking the point guard reps, or who do you see as okay, if we want to get and I'm sure you don't have a down to the number, but we want to get Damari 32 minutes a game. Who's bringing the ball up the floor for those other 8?
Yeah, and that's something that was one of the first questions that we talked about, first topics that we talked about when Coach Strage got here. Is it was pretty evident Damari's going to be your starting one, right?
Yep.
And who's that backup minutes? And It has been. We talked a lot about obviously Damari and Tajavis, but Lance Waddles has made tremendous growth physically, mentally, just a better understanding and grasp. He has a unique ability to really score the ball, and so I do feel the bulk of his minutes need to be off the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yet he'll be the first to tell you, like he played a lot of point in high school. I think he's comfortable doing that. Tajavis would prefer you to play off the ball,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But yet the trust that I have in him and the understanding of what's important in winning games, there's a comfort level with him being able to do that. Jakari can play some of that too, but I also do think it's important to free him up mentally to just play off the ball and do some of the dynamic things he can. It's nice. We do have a 2-3-4 kind of options, but I think the big picture perspective is to know the importance of Damari's being on the floor, his health, him staying out of foul trouble, and all those things.
Right, because I mean, and it's the same question if he twists his ankle and you need somebody for 3 games. The question remains the same. We saw, like I said, we've seen a ton of these guys play basketball. You were a deep team last year. The one kid we didn't see, and I thought it was interesting, Noah Federson. So I had an opportunity to come to a couple practices, saw him play with Morgs, and kind of logged that in the back of my head. That's interesting because you look at Noah Federson from a recruiting standpoint, and you bring him in. You go, okay, well that's a 5. That's he'll come off the bench when Morgs sits and whatever. And the exhibition came out, and by gosh, there's Noah Federson at the 4. So, I spent a ton of offseason time. It's like, right, well, Grant is sort of Grant, and maybe it'll be where like you have a Sam Griesel type body at the 4 position. Maybe it'll be you have an AJ Jacobson body type at the 4 position. And the first exhibition game of the season, and it's 6'10" and 6'10" out there again. So, what is it about Noah that makes him workable at the 4? And really just kind of your excitement level, because to go from, even in an exhibition situation, to go from, okay, we're going to redshirt you this year to, my God, you're in the starting lineup. And by the way, he played pretty well. Your thoughts on Noah?
Yeah, I don't have a great costume face, Ross, but it's pretty hard for me not to hide behind the smile.
Yeah.
And because there is.
Just don't let him see it?
No, I mean, I need to be better at that, right?
Sure.
In letting our guys know how proud I am of them. I am, if I can spit that out the right way. Here's what I'm getting at. There is a big intrigue factor with Noah Federson, and I leave it and I stop short of anything else because there is live coming. And what I mean when there's live coming, there's going to be growth. There is, no matter who you are, what you've been through, red shirt, true freshman, junior college, there's always different. There's going to be 8 to 10 non-conference games where there's maybe a little bit of a roller coaster. I hope there's not, but past history tells me there will be. There's going to be the first 4 or 5 conference games that we talk about a slow burn ramping up to the conference tournament. There's just different stages throughout the season. But, what is it about him? He happens to be 6'10", 240. And what I mean by that is he still has all the versatility to do a lot of things. You saw him, bang a 3 the other night. He has the ability defensively to switch ball screens, which is a nice luxury. He's got the ability. You saw the other thing where he gets switched onto a guard. Guard kind of beats him initially at the point of attack, but yet to compete and block the shot at the rim. He led us in rebounds. He's a young man that's just finding his feet. He's gaining more and more confidence. And anytime you have 6'10", 240, 245, his high school team needed it, but he played the point in high school.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. And so, we had just yesterday in practice, late shot clock, he's able to bounce it left hand and make a pass on the wing for a 3 from Damari, role reversal, so to speak. And I think that's what's so exciting about it is you have a young man with tremendous character and integrity, high level intelligence, 6'10", 240, all the things, right? And then you put all that together, it's hard not to be excited.
Sure. The other new piece, Jeremiah Burke, junior college guy, seems to be more of what I was talking about, which is the AJ Jacobson body type, the Sam Griesel body type. Maybe not. Well, those 2 players aren't that similar, but obviously has his own game. What should we expect from JB?
I think I get it, and 4s look different. I think 4s look a lot of different ways. AJ Jacobson, Reed Tellinghusen, Now you're going to go look at South Dakota State, and either probably Luke Apple is going to be a little bit, and that's kind of like what I like with the difference between maybe Noah and JB, and maybe at times playing Bo at some four. JB is a different level athlete. I mean, freak type athlete. Him and Derek Doucette are great additions from a lot of standpoints, but they raise the level of athleticism in our program immensely.
That young Mr. Doucette does not look like a
Yeah,
freshman.
yeah. But so Jeremiah has a catch and shoot ability. He has a great compete mentality. He's a tough kid. He's, like I mentioned a couple times now, he's got a elite bounce to his game. He's got a motor. I think you saw that possession on Friday night where him, Strite, and Doucette were in there together, and we got 4 or 5 different offensive rebounds, and then finally Javis bangs a three. And now again, like I think there's going to be some times when, and I say this with all due respect to JB, that I want to force myself to play him. And when I say that, meaning like there's going to be some bumps in the road. Again, it's a transition. We talked about Noah's transition from redshirt to playing, JB's transition from junior college to playing. It's just going to be different. But when you look ahead and you're betting on the future and some of those things to come with JB, I think there's a bright future there.
And that's one thing I sort of wanted to touch on is, so again, it's all an exhibition. I get it, but your first substitution in the exhibition was a hockey line change, 5 out, 5 in. Not only that, but Sam Hostrader wasn't even able to play.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've certainly been around when NDSU men's basketball had a 6.5-man rotation, and I've been around when maybe you've gone 9 deep. I mean, you're to my eye, you're going to have some decisions to make where you've got 10, 11 guys, and all of them really at some point outside of JB and Noah, whether they were in the rotation for a little bit and then thrown back in, or because like Jakari had his time where maybe he didn't play so much, but then he did. And Lance, same thing, had maybe some early time where he played a lot, and then it sort of backed off. I think these are what they call champagne problems, right? You having too much depth is good, but how do you and your staff kind of work through that, and then maybe some conversations you're going to have with guys down the road?
Yeah, I've never heard that term, champagne problems.
These are champagne problems.
I like that. It's hopefully I don't have the headache the next day from those champagne problems. Here's what I know about being a head coach. Here's what I know about leadership, being a CEO, whatever, is there's always challenges. There's always quote unquote problems, and you can perceive those problems in different ways. And do I expect to play 11 guys this year? I don't. I think in my mind right now, we've kind of settled at like an 8.5, where somebody's kind of filling in here or there. And so that means there's going to be some guys on the outside looking in.
Yep.
We've talked lately to the guys. It's like, a funnel, and there's a big pool here, but it's going to get narrowed down. And so there's going to maybe be a guy or two on the outside, and
player, probably
a good player.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: like maybe I'm pigeonholing myself right now by saying we only play 8. Maybe we can expand that a little bit. But if we do that, does that take away some of the rhythm and routine for those other core? I also know over the course of 30 some games and hopefully 35, there's going to be just some things that happen, right? We can sit here and knock on wood and do all those things and hope that it doesn't happen. So we'll see how it all plays out. I've learned a ton from my father. One of those things is don't make decisions until you have to. We've got a pretty good idea of where those...
you mean you're not just going to spell out your rotation to me?
Right? Can you write this? No, not quite ready. You'll see those things. And part of the reason I'm not going to spell it out is because I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
And I haven't spelled it out to our guys yet.
Yeah.
But I do think, and something else that I'm picking up from Coach Strage, and it has been part of our successes in the league, is role definition.
Sure.
You need to understand who you are and what you're about and how you can help the team.
So last year, you have obviously Grant and Bo, but then you have Morgan's in his second year, and we the people that cover you called you the baby Bison. I mean, you were. Not only were you the baby Bison, but my God, Kansas. I mean, you just threw them into the fire, which. Mm-hmm. Fine, but I think at one point you might have been 2-11. I can't remember exactly. It wasn't great. Whatever it wasn't great. I'm sure part of this is it's not easy to schedule, and part of it, I don't know, maybe part of it might be just a different approach with this group. But this schedule doesn't seem like the walk through the fire that last year's was from a non-conference perspective.
Yeah, I said this at our Summit League head coaches meetings. mid-October, Ross. Non-conference scheduling is, if not it's one of the hardest parts of our job right now at the mid-major level, because there's so many different parameters. There's financial needs that need to be met. There's trying to get home games. There's winning games. There's, being successful in living in Fargo, North Dakota, and not a recruiting metropolis that a lot of people want to come to in November and
Sure.
in
Yep.
December. So you're figuring it out, and then there's a bumper car piece to it too, where you do get a game, and then your dates get shuffled around. I know. I know one thing. This program has been able to sustain success with an attitude craving improvement, with an attitude about just getting better the next day. So whether we are 2-9 or whatever we were, or 9-2, it's always about getting better. And I think um, you go and you have some new guys, and there's going to be those things. You throw them into the fire, to your point, with it. But what we haven't done ever is compromise that character and integrity. Guys that want to continue to work and grow, buy into the process, not focus on the results. And that's why we've been able to grow and get better and play some of our best basketball in late February, early March.
Get you going here, but I want to talk about the old dogs quick before we, as odd as it is to even talk about, I mean, guys that I've seen come into this program, and Morgan was a big deal recruiting wise. Kind of his journey, I did happen to catch the Bison basketball show there, and you're talking to Sam about some expectations of Andrew Morgan and some expectations of you. And what have you seen, I guess, from Morgs, as I'm sure just from a touches standpoint, but also from a age standpoint? I mean, he becomes now one of your veterans, and you mentioned maturity. What have you seen from Morgs, and what are your kind of expectations for him?
Yeah, I think a lot of times your greatest strengths are your greatest weakness. And Morgs is a stubborn dude, and I'm probably accused of being a stubborn dude
Once or
too.
twice.
Yeah, but you grow, you learn, you understand, you build love, you build trust. Over time, you have a better understanding, and there's things like foul trouble. There's things like longer stretches that I've learned, hopefully learned and had through conversations with not only Morgs, but with everybody about what's healthy for him, what's healthy for the team to be in the best position to move us forward and be successful. And I do know Andrew Morgan, the values that are Bison, right? Tough, together, blue collar, land grant institution, right? Yep. He wears them on his sleeve. But that is a talented young man. He's had a tremendous offseason with Coach Miller in the weight room. He's still maintaining about the same body weight, but tightened it up a little bit. The way he's moving laterally, his confidence, we've tried to do a better job of preparing him, like how he might see different defenses, rather than just getting it thrown at him against Kansas when, a Big 12 school was doubling him out of the gates like that. So excited for his future, but need to continue like the Damari track, where their importance to us in a lot of ways is really valuable. And we need to make sure that we're managing those expectations, managing those time things wisely.
I don't want to put words in your mouth or certainly answer my question for you, but for me, and I mean, we've been doing literally this thing for like 6 years, but I've been covering this team for 8 years. Been a fan, before that. To me, Bowden Scunberg is about as much like, if you just put NDSU basketball on a person, that's him. I mean, he's from Jamestown. Was a gunner in high school. I mean, you just look at the shot attempts, and then comes here, learns how to be a defensive stopper, and like, just to me, just really took on like your brand or your culture. Like, your culture is Bowden Scunberg to me. So like I said, I didn't want to answer the question for you, but getting a senior, and with the year that he was a freshman, he does have the opportunity to come back. But whether or not this is Bowden's last year, I mean, just kind of your thoughts on his development, and now seeing him recognized as a first team all-leaguer has to be gratifying. I mean, it not necessarily for you, Dave Richman, but just like, you know what, this kid deserves this.
Yeah. You don't deserve anything,
Sure,
but you earn everything. And I think that's the biggest thing that comes to mind, and maybe we touch a little bit more on Derek Doucette, but Derek, I've heard it a ton where I'll hear it, and then Derek will tell me he hears it. Derek Doucette is a Dave Richman type player, right? And hopefully that's a compliment, right? It's tough together, it's sustaining success, it's doing all those things. And what I mean by that is, and I'm not going to do Bowden justice here, but I think there falls into that same category where you maybe had this, you maybe had me here, and in some hard collisions that happened early on. And you take parenting as a challenge, but you gain rewards. You take coaching in the same aspect where there's challenges, but then you see the rewards. And I will go to bat. I will go to war. I will go to the ends of the earth for Bowden Scumberg. And I say that, and I've said it. I think he's very much understood. I think the both of us are unfairly represented not represented, but critiqued. I'm not going to change who I am for 40 minutes, 30 some nights a year in those 2-hour windows that we're playing games, intense, competitive. Bowden's not going to change who he is. But get to know us off the court. Sure. Get to know Bowden Scumberg those other 22 hours of the day, those other 330 days of the year, where this is a young man that's in hospitals visiting with cancer kids, spending more time after I leave. He's still there. I'm getting pictures from Jeff Curtis, who directs our FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and they're teaching a Sunday school class together. I'm in a speaking engagement a few years ago to a group in Jamestown. A gentleman says, "Hey, we're all intrigued to see if you're going to be able to tame a wild bull." Like I'm not trying to tame a wild bull. I just want to help Bowden continue to work towards that best version of himself, and he doesn't need much help or guidance. He's so strong and deep in his faith, and no matter what happens, and we can get into those things as it moves on. No matter what happens with Bowden, like, there's somebody that's going to be involved in my life and has had a tremendous impact on myself, my family, this program. Absolutely love the kid.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'll just be transparent. Mine too. Like his connection with my stepson it's we can't leave yet. I haven't given Bowden a high five yet. Like he's that kind of dude. So tough for me always to even just stay unbiased and like be critical of someone who's
that's okay. We don't need to apologize for the human aspect of these players as well.
Absolutely. Sometimes it ends up on the schedule poster, sometimes it doesn't, but there's always a message. And at least for the last couple of years, I've always kind of let you kind of take the end of this chat of ours and sort of relay that. So what is the 2023-24 NDSU men's basketball message?
Yeah, a couple things. Like I said, we're extremely excited about Derek Doucette. Brings in an elite level of athleticism, a high character and integrity kid that I think is going to have a chance to really help us on the court this year and have a really bright future. Josh Strite is somebody else that has had a tremendous offseason to gaining strength and valuable athleticism. You talked about Noah. I think Noah has the versatility to play some of the five. He does. But when you have that luxury of Morgs and Josh to do that frees up Noah to really be the best version of himself for a lot of the game. At the
same matchup problem you used to have. I mean, it's tough.
But Josh Strite and Andrew Morgan are best of friends, right? They don't flinch without each other, but the way they challenge and compete against each other in practices is really encouraging to see. Ryan Sletton, for him to earn a scholarship and to be back and have a positive impact on the program is terrific to see. Mark and Eli are guys that I think can really help our program down the future. They're going to redshirt, but character and integrity guys with talent and upside and the right values. So, what's the message? You're putting me on the spot a little bit. The biggest message is betterment, growth. This program is in a very good spot, right? But also there's a little bit of a bitter taste when you go back to 20, and that team had the NCAA tournament qualification ripped because of COVID. Yeah. And the last 3 years we've been right back in that game and just not gotten over that hump. And so it's not a not regret. It's not the unfinished business. No matter if we won by 30, lost by 30, whatever happened last year, it's all about getting better. It's all about, being uncomfortable. Probably the message is embrace the struggle. Embrace the struggle. When you've had the success, people are coming for you. And we need to embrace that struggle, and we need to use that as our advantage because we can really learn from these things.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate all your support, Rob. Ross. Thank you.